NBA draft comparisons for Ryan Dunn. Versatile Virginia forward who might be the best defender in this class. No offensive game to speak of. One of the worst three-point shooters in the country for the amount of attempts that he had. I was okay around the rim, nothing special, not somebody who's going to put the ball on the floor. But his defense gives him a pretty solid floor and I think a decent upside as well if the offense does come around. The best case comps for him are going to be if the offense comes around. So, Riley, who is the best case comparison for Ryan Dunn?
My best case for him is Jared Vanderbilt. And I think Vando is a bit of a different type of defender than Dunn. I could see Dunn growing into that point of attack defender role that the Lakers love to use Vando in. Vanderbilt gets a ton of steals, which I think should be Dunn's sort of bread and butter to get on the court, using his length to be disruptive. Vanderbilt is at least a 30% shooter, mainly on corner threes. Aside from that, he's just under there to grab rebounds. And yeah, if Dunn hits a ceiling, I really think it's just a rotational defensive piece for a playoff team. I will say where Dunn is already ahead. He seems to be a bit more of like a shot blocker. Like that was something we talked about in the scouting report, is his abilities as a weak side rim protector, where Vando has never been a big block guy throughout his career. At the same time, though, at least when Vanderbilt was coming out of Kentucky, there was sort of this upside that they thought was there as a playmaker, as a passer from the front court that, Dunn has never really been known for that. So
I had Jared Vanderbilt written down as well.
wait, really?
I did.
Look at us.
I think the physical profile matches up, and you project Dunn to be a lockdown defender, one of the NBA's better defenders, take on the best team's opposing, or the other team's best player every single night. He is more of a shot blocker than Vanderbilt is, but Vanderbilt is somebody who has filled that role of being an elite defender and, can contribute as a fifth offensive option. He's made himself enough to do that. I think that's the trajectory for Dunn to be on. I also thought about like a bigger Herb Jones, right? Just a defender who also came in the league with some questionable offense and then figured it out. Jones is much quicker. Like it doesn't work as well because he's smaller. That's why I went with Vanderbilt. But that same
Yeah.
kind of mold of somebody who's defense first, but has developed offense to be a good rotation piece on a playoff team.
My counter to that would be Herb Jones was SEC Player of the Year his last year at Alabama because he like ran the point for that team, and we've seen Ryan Dunn not even sniff that. But
Yeah, that's fair.
I I
I mean,
thought
I
about
went
going
with
with
Vanderbilt too. I'm trying to branch off here because we think too similarly, Riley.
I thought about going with our guy Bismack Biyombo just because he's 6'8" shot blocker, but that seemed a little too harsh.
Is that maybe worse?
I
Is that maybe worst case scenario for
I
him? Who
think
was your worst
I
case
think
comp?
there's a worse case than that. My worst case was Gabe Osaboyan, who a lot of people are probably like, who? Lockdown defender at West Virginia a couple years ago, who's just crushing it for the Cleveland Charge right now in the G League.
I like that. I like that a little bit better than mine. I went with Michael Kidd Gilchrist, and
I thought about Kid Gilchrist for his ceiling too.
a lot of it has to do. Gilchrist was more small forward perimeter defender, and Dunn I think is be more interior defender, but can do a little bit of everything. It comes from being a highly rated defender, and you're like, oh, the shot's going to come around, and now if you're watching this on video, he's not shooting like with his arm over here like Kid Gilchrist was. Ryan Dunn's not doing this number, but the shot just never comes, and he becomes just incredibly limited and something of a liability offensively. Kid Gilchrist lasted much longer in the league than he would have, I think, if he was not drafted number 2 overall, and was not in Charlotte. If he was, I think, anywhere else, they would have moved on from him much quicker than the Bobcat/Hornets did. But I think that's worst case scenario is it doesn't come. The offense doesn't come and he's out of the league. Well,
I like Osaboyan better as the comp.
I do
I think
too.
that's better worst case. Just because MKG, at least you're right that if he wasn't a Bobcat, he probably wouldn't have stuck around as long. But there was at least flashes there that kind of made Charlotte fans think, oh, maybe this will work. Whereas I think that the worst case for Dunn is like, yeah, this is just hopeless. You're a G leaguer.
Yeah. Anytime, like I remember when Kid Gilchrist got drafted. I'm a Hornets fan. When he got drafted, the refrain was he's a really good defender, but he's also just the kind of guy you need on winning teams. It's like, okay, cool. glue guy at number 2 is essentially what you're telling me this best case scenario is. That's fantastic. Dunn has some of that to his game, but he's also not going number 2, so it's not as big of an issue.
Fair.
So Jared Vanderbilt or Gabe Osaboyan, Ryan Dunn. We'll see where you're at. We'll see where you're at.
The NBA draft is coming up, and I've got something awesome for you. We are partnering with the people at NBA 2K Lab. NBA 2K is the best video game on earth. The people at 2K Lab are making some awesome stuff to make that game even more fun, and they just launched their 2024 NBA Draft Simulator, where you can find the official Sleepers Media big board. We ranked our top 75 players in this draft class. Me, Carter, Brian Ralph, Riley Davis. We did it together, and it is featured on the 2K Lab NBA Draft Simulator. You can take control of any team in the draft, play GM with just one click, and see our entire rankings before these videos even come out. Check out the link in the description of this video to try out the draft sim for yourself, and you can find more mini games at nba2klab.com/NBA-mini-games.